Okay, hello everyone, welcome back to World of Tanks. Here, it's Armistice Day. This is actually being recorded on the 11th of the 11th, 2016. And, well, this is the special garage that we have for Armistice Day. Lacking the German flag, I notice. You've got, the Australian, you've got the New Zealand flag, I think. You've got the French flag, you've got the Indian flag, I believe that is, the Canadian flag. There's the Italian flag, the British flag, the American flag, obviously. But no German flag, because it was the Germans that signed the surrender on the 11th of the 11th. On the 11th minutes of the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, but not of the 11th year, but no matter. And is that a person? Yeah, defeat. Defeat in our liberty. KV Fortress, T-34, IS. Yeah, dead. But anyway, so I thought, because, special mission, for the VK, we salute you, thank you. What do I get? I get a light 6C. But anyway, so, I already have that. But because it's Armistice Day, I thought what better than to do a review of a German tank. And since this is the only German tank that I haven't reviewed, other than the Tyran 3, or the Panther 88, I thought, why not do, and I mean this thing does look good, look at this. German engineering at its finest. But, so I thought for Armistice Day, let's review the VK4503, because, well, what better way to celebrate Armistice Day than to review a German tank, so, lest we forget all of the brave people who gave their lives to defend their countries, whether you were German, British, American, French, Italian, New Zealand-ish, I don't know, New Zealand-ish? Australian, or any of the other servicemen that have given their lives throughout the years to defending their country. So, lest we forget. But let's press on with this review. Looking at the VK here in the winter camo, let's put on something less wintry, such as, there we go, the summer. There you go, so that's the summer camo I've chosen. No, it still shows winter, alright. Bugger you too. Right, so anyway. It's a tier 7 German premium heavy tank, and it's basically the Tiger II, or the King. It's basically the King, but at tier 7. So it's like the Japanese Tiger, where it's a tier lower than the tank it's based on, but this is based obviously on the Königstiger. So Das Königstiger we will be comparing to the IS-2 because, well, that's the only other tier 7 heavy tank, premium heavy tank that I have, and that is also based off of the IS, which is also at tier 7, however. So anyway, I've talked on enough, so let's have a look at the survivability. Or, can I add to comparison? No, I can't. Why not? There you go. One to compare. Add to comparison. Display vehicles and garage. There we go. No, it doesn't let me do it. Why? Why? What is this? Deutschland. Tier 7. No? Why? Why would you do this, game? Why would you implement this new feature and then not let me compare the tanks I want? What is this? Okay, well, we're not comparing the... but looking at it, the HP, it's got 1400 HP compared to the IS-2's 1280, so it has got the advantage on HP. However, the armour is not as good as the IS-2. It's got 180-80 at the front, side and rear, so In raw thickness, it's not as good as the IS-2, which has got 190/60 or 190/90 if you're on the turret. So the raw thickness of the 4503 is not as good as the IS-2, which has got supposedly better armor. However, what the VK has got is it has got sloped armor. So as you can see, that's a nice 45-degree slope about on the front of the hull, and also the sides are slightly sloped as well. Not as much as the front of the hull. However, with careful angling, you can get bounces if you angle yourself on the building there, and you angle yourself there. Plus, the turret is fairly rounded plus sloped, so you can get lucky bounces off of that. However, the big problem with this turret, which is the Porsche term, which was the original first production models of the King, was that this is nice sloping on the front of this turret. Certainly, you can get some bounces from lower penetration guns. But the big problem with the Koenigsegg Porsche term is that the Porsche term tended to act as a shot trap. And what a shot trap is, it's where a shell will hit the turret. It doesn't have enough raw penetration to actually penetrate through the turret armor, so it will ricochet off. However, it ricochets down into the thinner armor of the top plate of the hull, where it will then penetrate and do damage. So the problem with the Porsche term on the original Koenigseggers is that the shots will ricochet down onto the flat top thin top armor of the hull, and they will penetrate and they will do damage. So that's the problem with the Porsche term, which is why when you fully upgrade, actually when you fully upgrade the Koenigsegg, do you actually? Let's have a look here. Where are we? Tier 8, Koenigsegg. Preview das Koenigsegg. Yeah, you start off with the Porsche term, okay. Let's do that, and then we need to go to the Henschel term. Yeah, so you see here the difference being that you see this is the Porsche term, which is also the turret that's on the VK4503. And as you will see, this tends to act as a ricochet down onto the flat armor of the top of the hull, which is why the later production models have the Henschel term, which has got this simple flat plate, which, although not being as bouncy, it does stop shell ricocheting down onto the hull. So there's that. Yeah, the VK does tend to act as a slight shot trap, but in terms of armor defense, the IS-2 has got the numerical advantage on the sides and rear. However, well, look at that. They're sloping at the front, but it's far more difficult for them to actually get them to hit the side and get a ricochet when they can just aim for the front of the turret here, or the big weak spot, which is the commander's cupola, which is on top of the IS-2. So whilst the armor may be better in thickness, it's not as sloped. So angling this is what this tank is all about, which is what all of the higher tier German heavy tanks are about. It's all about the angling, and this is the, well, it'll say in here that this tank is the existed only in blueprints, but this was the Tiger 3, and I suppose you could also call it the sort of prototype Tiger 2, because it doesn't have as thick frontal hull. The frontal hull, as we saw when we were looking at the Tiger 2, was 150. This is only 100, but it does retain the German lower glacis thinner armor. So if you need to penetrate German heavies, everyone pretty much knows to aim for the lower of the hull. But then if you have more than 100 penetration, you can get through the front of the hull anyway. But safe bet is to just aim for the lower glacis. So it does have more HP than the IS-2, but the armor is it's all about the angling. Raw thickness, it's not as much, but with angling, it will certainly be very effective armor. Somebody who knows how to how to angle well, will certainly do very well in this tank. Maneuverability is a 65-ton tank with a 700 horsepower engine, which only gives it a 10.7 horsepower per ton ratio, which, as you can see, is not as much as the IS-2, which has got 46.8 tons with a 600 horsepower engine, which gives it a 12.83 horsepower per ton ratio. And this has got a 34 km per hour top speed with a 14 reverse speed. The VK has got a 38 with a 12 reverse speed, so the VK here has got a slightly higher top speed but with a slower reverse speed. Also, the IS-2 is much better at turning than the 4503. And the IS-2 certainly did surprise me with the speed of the traverse, 41.72 traverse speed, which I thought was just crazy. I mean, that's very good traverse speed. I mean, it's not as good as a light tank, obviously, but compare it to the Panther M10, which has got 38 degrees per second. The IS-2 can outturn the Panther M10, which is that's pretty strange, considering that this is a heavy tank. This is certainly a very heavy, mobile heavy tank compared to the Germans, which tend to have the more traditional, slower, less maneuverable heavy tanks. So the VK is certainly not as mobile as the IS-2, which is a drawback to, well, inherently the German heavies, but definitely to the VK. As for concealment, it's a heavy tank, so it has a 7.13 concealment rating with a 4.57 when it's moving. The IS-2 has got slightly better, 9.9 and 5.99, but that's still not particularly great. I mean, considering the fact that this thing has got 19 when it's stationary, so I mean, I don't know. The Russians invented cloaking technology. I mean, even this thing's got a 16.7, and this is an AT-15A. Then again, it is a tank destroyer, so. But yeah, being a heavy tank, you're not expecting it to be the most hidden thing in the world. However, the Germans tend to have pretty good radios, and this is, well, it's 620 meters. I mean, it's could be better, but I mean, then again, it could also be a lot worse. So, I mean, it's not as good as the Flug 7 Alf S, Alf F even, which has got a 710 meter signal range. But I mean, yeah, it's a pretty good radio. I mean, it could be better, but then it could be worse. I mean, it could be IS-2 standard. The IS-2 has got a terrible 440 meter signal range with its 10 RKM radio. So, I mean, so the VK has certainly got the advantage over the IS-2 in terms of radio range. Also in view range as well, as you saw, 385 meters view range compared to 358. So the IS-2 is certainly more blind than the VK here. Then again, I am boosting it with situational awareness, but I mean, 380 meters base is still better than the IS-2. So far, comparing the VK to the IS-2, they're sort of similar tanks. I mean, the IS-2 is certainly more maneuverable, but with angling, the VK can certainly be effective in certain situations. And now we come to the firepower. So the IS-2, as we all know, has got the D25T gun. I mean, this is the gun that everyone knows on the Russian higher tier heavies, the D25T. Now, the VK has actually got the long 88 gun, which is what the Tiger II had historically, and this is also very similar to the gun which the actual Königstiger has at tier 8. So, comparing them, obviously the Russian one is a bigger gun because it's a 122 D25T, so 122 compared to the 88. However, the 88 does have a superior rate of fire, with a 7.14 rounds per minute compared to the 4.48. The 88 also has better penetration, 203 compared to 175, and 175 is pretty good for tier 7. I mean, that's a standard Russian penetration, but it's also it's alright for tier 7. It'll get you through most tier 7 tanks. However, the VK has got 203 penetration, which is, sort of slightly overkill. at tier 7. The Firefly has got a pretty overkill 171 penetration at tier 6, but tier 7 203 is certainly overkill. Considering the fact that the Yao Tiger 88 has got 203 penetration, that's a tier 8 tank destroyer. The 88 also has better penetration with its APCR, where it's got 237 compared to the 217 with the Russian 122. However, the 122 has got better high explosive penetration, but then it's high explosive, who really cares? However, alpha damage is where the 88 loses out, because it's a lower caliber gun, so it has less average damage, which is why it also has a higher rate of fire due to its lower caliber. But 240 average damage compared to 390, I mean, yeah, the D25T tends to do that. So this is a sort of bite-sized meal size, whereas this is an all-out, straight punch to the face 122 gun. However, the D25T is not known for its accuracy. 0.46 accuracy with 3.4 second aim time compared to the very good 0.33 dispersion with the VK and the 2.2 second aim time. So it's got very good, it's very accurate with a very good aim time. Well, it's certainly better than the standard 2.3 second aim time. So this has got all the characteristics of a sniping gun, which is what you're supposed to do with the high-tier German heavies. The high-tier German heavies aren't so much about brawling as they are about sniping from a longer distance, where your sloped armor will come into effect. Whereas the IS-2 is a sort of get-in-your-face, just straight-up brawling, punching match with the other heavy tanks. So they're both suited to different roles. The VK sort of more sits back, snipes, takes targets of opportunity shots with its 0.33 accuracy and its 2.2 second aim time, whereas the IS-2 is a more brawling in your face, stalling the enemy around, corners sort of tank, which is what people like about the Russian heavies. So, yeah, looking at the stats here, 7.2 second reload compared to the 10.4 second of the IS-2. However, the IS-2 does have a better turret traverse, 29.87 compared to the 22.95 of the VK. So the VK does have a slower traversing turret, which makes it difficult for it to catch fast-moving light tanks, for example, that are circling it, or medium tanks, or even the quicker heavy tanks for that matter. However, it does have -8 gun depression, which is better than the IS-2, which has only got -6. However, it doesn't have as much gun elevation, 15 compared to 25. But yeah, 2.11 seconds with 3.2. Yeah, that's very good. Almost 2,000 DPM compared to the 2,255 of the IS-2. So yeah, I mean the VK does less alpha damage, but is more likely to penetrate, and also can sort of put out sustained fire. So, I mean, if you had a choice between the VK and the IS-2, it more depends on your playstyle than anything else, because the IS-2 is a brawling tank, the VK is a more sort of setback sniping tank from ridgelines and things, which is what the Germans historically used their heavy tanks for. They would sit at 2 kilometers and pick off Cromwells and things. So, yeah, I mean, this is a very good gun, but then so is the D25T in various aspects. But yes, this is a very good tank gun to have at tier 7. I mean, this is the gun that the AT-15A has, and this is a very good gun. I mean, the 17-pounder is a good gun. 171, 14 rate of fire, 150 average damage, 0.32, 1.9 seconds aim time. This is a very good sniping gun, and the VK isn't too far off with its gun. So this is a specialist gun, I suppose you could say, but it's a very good gun either way. Plus, looking at the ammo capacity, 72 with the VK compared to the 28 of the IS-2. So the VK does have a higher ammo capacity, so it can last those sustained battles. So there's not much more you can say about these two tanks. They play certainly differently, and there is no real definitive way of saying one is worse than the other. So it's all down to personal preference, I suppose. But with your consumables, you've got the standard repair kits, you've got chocolate, you've got the large things, if you want to use them. A round of APCR, Panzergranate 40/43 will cost you 4,400 credits, so be wary of that, but you could load some of them to a high 72 capacity. And now for the equipment. I fitted a large caliber tank gun rammer because the 88 is a more rapid fire gun and you want to keep it firing to rack up that damage, so yep, gone with a gun rammer. Camo net binos you could do for being a sniper tank, but it's not a traditional sort of sit at the back of the map sort of sniper. You do have to sort of slightly get up to the front lines sort of tank, because you're not necessarily quick enough to keep up with a fast-paced battle in this tank, so you've got to be wary of that. But if you don't want to go binos, you can go coated optics. Enhanced gun lane drive, you don't need it. 2.2 seconds aim time is very good. You don't need it for this tank. The suspension, well, the enhanced suspension you may want, because, I mean, look at these tracks. Unlike the Tiger 2, this doesn't have track guards. Not that the track guards actually do anything. They were more there for anti-bazooka protection than actual anti-tank stopping power. But you can actually appreciate how much of the hull is actually covered with the track here. So you can expect your tracks to eat up some shots. However, you have then got this huge hole here which isn't covered by anything, which they can shoot at. So you've got to be wary of that, but I mean the tracks do cover up a fair amount of the hull here, so you may want the enhanced suspension for the suspension durability. As for the load capacity, I mean you do have an almost 70-ton limit, so you do still have, well, with the gun rammer, you do still have about 5 tons to play around with, so you don't necessarily need this for the load capacity, but you may want it for the suspension durability. Tanks filled with CO2 in case you keep getting set on fire. Spall liner, not necessarily. I mean, your armor's not that thick, it works at range due to the sloping or angling, but ramming and explosions, I mean, you're not likely to ram things. I mean, you may want it for artillery, but up to you. Toolbox is always useful. Wet ammo rack to increase the ammo rack durability, and then in case your ammo rack keeps getting damaged. And then improve vents are always a nice thing to put on if you have an empty space. And now we come to your crew. It's a crew of 5. Obviously, got the 2 at the front, the 3 in the turret, as per usual. You've got your Commandant, your Unterfeldwebel, who I'm going with 6 cents, because that's always useful. Eagle Eye is also always nice to have with your 88, especially if you combine it with Deadeye. Jack of all trades, you could do. Recon is always useful, and Mentor I don't see the point in. Then you've got your common skills there. The Gunner, your Unterofficer, he, well, I'm training him with Deadeye because Deadeye is always a nice thing to have. Snapshot you could do. It's a fairly slow turning turret, so I mean, you could do to make those snapshots, you could say. Armour in case your gun keeps getting damaged, and designate target you could do. Maybe, why not? Then you've got your common skills. Then you've got your driver, who's another Unterofficer. And I'm training him in clutch braking because, the 29-30 degrees per second traverse is not that great, so I'm training him in clutch braking. Smooth ride is also always useful on this tank. Gotta keep it moving, gotta keep that blitzkrieg rolling. Smooth ride you could do for firing on the move, why not? Because you are fairly accurate anyway, so I mean, accuracy on the move is always nice with this gun. Preventive maintenance in case you keep getting set on fire. Controlled impact, yeah, you're not likely to ram things unless people ram into you. Then you've got your common skills. Then you've got your Geräte, your Geräte, who I am training in situational awareness because, extended view range is always nice. You could go signal boosting just to increase that radio range, but then you could also go relay, either one. Call for vengeance, you could do, and then you've got your common skills. Then finally, your Feuergeräte, which is your loader, and I'm training him in safe stowage, because if there's one thing people know about German heavy tanks, it's that the sides of the tank always hold the ammo. So if people can shoot you in the side, they will most likely shoot you there, or the back of the hull, or the back of the turret even. Just the side of the turret, the side of the hull is where the ammo rack is, so anything to increase that ammo rack durability I'm going with, so safe stowage is probably not a bad idea on the higher tier heavies. The higher tier German heavies at least. Adrenaline rush, you could do, it's always a nice thing to have, and then intuition in case you're switching between AP and APCR, so there's that, and then you've got your common skills. So overall this tank is more suited to sniping play style due to the accurate gun and also the sloping of the hull. However, you can use it in a brawling situation due to, if you're good at angling tanks, if you're good at angling armor and things, then you can, park yourself building here, just covering up the side of your tank there, and you can get bounces off of the side of your hull there. So if you're good at angling, that is a viable strategy for you because, the sloped armor is there for a reason. But the safest way to play this tank, it would be to sit back and snipe the enemy from a reasonable distance where your sloped armor will come in nicely. Also good for poking ridges where you'll be sloped at an even more extreme angle than this is. So yeah, poking ridge lines or sitting back and sniping, that's the way you should play this tank. Anyone that's played the Tiger 2 or is proficient with the Tiger 2 will be well suited to this tank. So yeah, thank you for watching and goodbye.